The golden California sun cast a warm glow over the rolling hills of Napa Valley as Marcus Rivera adjusted his black tuxedo for the 100th time that morning. Standing at the altar of the outdoor chapel, surrounded by ancient oak trees and endless rows of grapevines, he felt like he was living in a fairy tale. The soft melody of a string quartet drifted through the warm September air, and white rose petals scattered across the stone pathway created a magical carpet leading to where his future would begin. Marcus had always been a practical man. As an architect, he dealt in blueprints, measurements, and concrete realities. But today, watching his bride-to-be appear at the end of the aisle, he believed in magic for the first time in his 29 years. Olivia Chen Martinez was breathtaking in her flowing white gown, the silk fabric catching the afternoon light, like liquid starlight. Her long black hair was styled in an elegant updo, with delicate baby's breath woven throughout, and her warm brown eyes sparkled with unshed tears of joy. She had always been beautiful to Marcus, but today she looked ethereal, almost otherworldly. The ceremony proceeded like a dream. Father Benedict Torres, a distinguished man with silver hair and kind eyes, had flown in from San Francisco specifically for their wedding. He had been Olivia's family priest for decades, though Marcus had only met him twice before. There was something almost mystical about the way Father Torres conducted the ceremony, his words carrying a weight that seemed to resonate beyond the immediate gathering. "Do you, Marcus Rivera, take Olivia Chen Martinez to be your lawfully wedded wife to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, until death do you part?" "I do," Marcus replied, his voice strong and clear, echoing across the vineyard. When it came time for Olivia's vows, her voice trembled slightly with emotion. "Marcus, you are my anchor in this world, my safe harbor in any storm. I promise to love you with every fiber of my being in this life and beyond." Something about her words sent a small shiver down Marcus's spine, but he attributed it to the overwhelming emotion of the moment. They exchanged rings, platinum bands that had been blessed by Father Torres in a private ceremony the night before, and when they kissed as husband and wife, the 100 guests erupted in applause and cheers. The reception was everything they had dreamed of. The vineyard's main hall had been transformed into a romantic paradise with twinkling fairy lights, cascading flowers, and candles that created a warm, intimate atmosphere. Marcus and Olivia shared their first dance to "At Last" by Etta James, lost in each other's eyes as they swayed together, completely oblivious to everyone else in the room. Throughout the evening, Marcus noticed how Olivia's grandmother, an elderly woman who had flown in from Mexico, kept watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. Rosa Martinez was a small, frail-looking woman with steel-gray hair and penetrating dark eyes. She had pulled Olivia aside several times during the reception for hushed conversations in rapid Spanish, conversations that seemed to leave his new wife slightly unsettled. "Everything okay, beautiful?" Marcus had asked during one of their dances. Olivia smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Abuela is just being traditional. You know how grandmothers can be at weddings." Marcus accepted the explanation, though something nagged at him. Rosa Martinez didn't seem like the typical doting grandmother. There was an intensity about her that made him uncomfortable, as if she was constantly watching for something that might go wrong. As the evening wound down, the photographer, a cheerful woman named Janet Phillips, pulled them aside for some final shots. "I got some absolutely magical photos today," she said, scrolling through her camera's digital display. The lighting was perfect, and you two are just gorgeous together. I'll have the edited gallery ready in about a week. The honeymoon begins, the boy. Next morning, Marcus and Olivia drove down the coast to Monterey Bay for their honeymoon. They had booked the presidential suite at the historic Grand Bay Resort, a luxurious oceanfront hotel perched on the cliffs overlooking the Pacific. The suite was spectacular, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the ocean, a private terrace, and a king-sized bed draped in the finest linens. "This is perfect," Olivia whispered as they stood on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks below created a soothing rhythm that seemed to wash away all the stress and excitement of the past few months of wedding planning. They spent their first night as husband and wife, lost in each other's arms, making love with a passion that felt both familiar and entirely new. Marcus had never felt so connected to another human being. It was as if their souls had finally found their missing pieces. The next morning, they enjoyed breakfast in bed, feeding each other fresh strawberries and sipping champagne while planning their day. They had booked a couples massage at the hotel, spa, followed by a sunset dinner at a renowned seafood restaurant perched on Cannery Row. "I don't think I've ever been this happy," Marcus said, running his fingers through Olivia's silky hair as she lay curled against his chest. "Me neither," she replied. But again, he detected that subtle note of something else in her voice. Worry? Fear? He couldn't quite identify it. "Liv, is everything all right? You seem a little distant sometimes. If something's bothering you, you can tell me." She looked up at him with those beautiful brown eyes, and for a moment, he thought she was going to confess something important. Instead, she kissed him softly and smiled. "I'm just overwhelmed by how much I love you. Sometimes it scares me how perfect everything is. I keep waiting for something to go wrong." Marcus understood that feeling. Their relationship had been remarkably smooth from the very beginning. They had met at an art gallery opening in San Francisco, where Olivia worked as a curator. Marcus had been there with a client, discussing the architectural features of the renovated building, when he had literally bumped into her while she was hanging a particularly challenging piece. Their courtship had been like something out of a romantic movie. Every date was perfect, every conversation flowed naturally, and when Marcus proposed on the beach at Half Moon Bay, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Even their families had blended seamlessly, despite coming from different cultural backgrounds. Perhaps that was why Olivia felt nervous. When things were too perfect, it was natural to wonder when the other shoe would drop. The disappearance, on their third morning in Monterey, Marcus woke up to find Olivia's side of the bed empty and cold. He assumed she had gotten up early to watch the sunrise, something she often did at home. But when he checked the terrace and then the bathroom, she was nowhere to be found. "Olivia!" he called out, checking the living area of their suite. Her purse was still on the dresser, her phone charging on the nightstand. Her clothes from the previous day were still draped over the chair where she had left them. A cold knot of worry began forming in Marcus's stomach. He quickly dressed and went down to the hotel lobby to ask if anyone had seen his wife. The night desk clerk, a young man named David who had checked them in 3 days earlier, shook his head. "I haven't seen Mrs. Rivera since yesterday evening when you both came through after dinner. Is everything all right, sir?" "I'm not sure," Marcus replied, trying to keep the panic out of his voice. "She wasn't in our room when I woke up, and she didn't take her purse or phone." David immediately called the hotel manager, and within minutes, a small search party was combing the hotel grounds. They checked the spa, the restaurants, the beach access paths, and even the parking garage. There was no sign of Olivia anywhere. By noon, Marcus was sitting in the local police station, filling out a missing person report with Detective James Morton, a weathered man in his mid-40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Mr. Rivera, I know this is difficult, but I need you to think carefully. Was your wife upset about anything? Did you have any arguments? Any reason she might have wanted to leave on her own?" "No, nothing like that," Marcus insisted. "We're on our honeymoon. We just got married 3 days ago. Everything was perfect." Detective Morton nodded sympathetically. Sometimes the stress of a wedding, the big life changes, can affect people in unexpected ways. Has your wife ever done anything like this before? Disappeared without explanation? "Never. Olivia is the most responsible person I know. She leaves notes when she goes to the grocery store. She would never just vanish like this, especially without her phone." The detective made notes in his file. "We'll start with the hotel. Security cameras, check with local hospitals, put out a general alert. These situations usually resolve themselves within 24 hours. Try not to worry too much." But Marcus was worried. As the hours passed with no word from Olivia, his anxiety grew into full-blown panic. He returned to their suite, hoping against hope that she would be there waiting for him with a perfectly reasonable explanation for her absence. Instead, he found their room exactly as he had left it that morning. Olivia's wedding ring was still on the nightstand, where she always left it before her morning shower. She never would have left without putting it back on. The terrifying discovery. That evening, desperate for any distraction from his spiraling thoughts, Marcus opened his laptop and checked his email. Among the usual spam and work messages, he found one from Janet Phillips, their wedding photographer. "Hi, Marcus and Olivia. Here are your beautiful wedding photos as promised. I've never captured such a magical ceremony. Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness, Janet." With trembling fingers, Marcus clicked on the link to the photo gallery. The images loaded slowly, and despite his current anguish, he found himself smiling at the beautiful moments Janet had captured. There was Olivia walking down the aisle, radiant and glowing. There were their families laughing and celebrating. There was their first kiss as husband and wife. He scrolled through dozens of photos, each one a perfect memory of what had been the happiest day of his life. But then he came to a wide shot of the ceremony taken from the back of the gathering, showing the entire wedding party and all their guests. Marcus zoomed in on the image, looking at the faces of their friends and family. That's when he saw it, and his blood turned to ice. Standing at the very edge of the frame, partially hidden behind an oak tree, was a figure that shouldn't have been there. It was a man, tall and imposing, wearing a long dark coat despite the warm September weather. His face was pale, almost luminescent in the dappled sunlight, and his eyes seemed to be fixed directly on Olivia with an intensity that was both possessive and predatory. But it wasn't just the stranger's presence that terrified Marcus. It was the fact that the man appeared to be partially transparent, as if he existed somewhere between the physical world and somewhere else entirely. The tree bark behind him was visible through his body, and the shadows fell across him in ways that defied the natural lighting of the scene. Marcus enlarged the image further, his hands shaking as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The figure's eyes were an unnatural pale blue, almost silver, and they seemed to glow with their own inner light. His hair was long and dark, and there was something timeless about his features, as if he could have been photographed yesterday, or 100 years ago. Most disturbing of all was the expression on the figure's face. It wasn't the look of a wedding crasher or a curious passer-by. It was the look of someone who was claiming what belonged to him. Marcus grabbed his phone and called Detective Morton immediately. "Detective, this is Marcus Rivera. I found something. In our wedding photos. There was someone at our wedding who wasn't supposed to be there. Someone who—" This is going to sound crazy, but he doesn't look entirely human. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Mr. Rivera, I think you should come down to the station. Bring the photo with you." As Marcus prepared to leave for the police station, his phone rang. It was an unknown number with a local area code. "Hello?" he answered, hoping against hope. "It might be Olivia, Mr. Rivera," said a deep, accented voice that Marcus didn't recognize. "We need to talk about your wife. Meet me at the Monterey Bay Aquarium tomorrow at opening time. Come alone and bring the wedding photo. If you want to. See Olivia again, you'll do exactly as I say." The line went dead, leaving Marcus staring at his phone in shock. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the device. Who was this caller? How did he know about the photo? And most importantly, what did he want with Olivia? As Marcus looked back at the mysterious figure in the wedding photo, he had the unsettling feeling that the pale blue eyes were looking directly back at him, as if the stranger somehow knew he had been discovered. The temperature in the hotel suite seemed to drop several degrees, and Marcus could have sworn he heard the faint sound of otherworldly whispers carried on the ocean breeze. His perfect honeymoon had become a waking nightmare, and Marcus realized that the man in the photograph held the key to finding his missing wife. Tomorrow, he would have to face whatever supernatural forces had invaded his life, whether he was prepared for them or not. Marcus barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the pale blue eyes of the mysterious figure staring back at him from the wedding photo. When dawn finally broke over Monterey Bay, he was already dressed and waiting in the hotel lobby, the printed photograph clutched in his trembling hands. The Monterey Bay Aquarium was only a 10-minute drive from the hotel, but it felt like the longest journey of Marcus's life. His mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Who was this man who had called him? How was he connected to Olivia's disappearance? And why had he specifically mentioned the wedding photo? The aquarium opened at 9 o'clock, sharp, and Marcus was the first person through the doors. He bought a ticket and wandered aimlessly through the exhibits, checking his watch every few minutes. The caller had said opening time, but he hadn't specified where in the massive complex they should meet. Marcus found himself standing in front of the jellyfish exhibit, mesmerized by the ethereal creatures floating in their illuminated tanks. There was something hypnotic about their movement, graceful and otherworldly, that reminded him uncomfortably of the figure in his wedding photo. "Beautiful, aren't they?" said a voice behind him. Marcus spun around to find himself face to face with an elderly woman he had never seen before. She was small and elegant, probably in her 70s, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and intelligent gray eyes that seemed to see right through him. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Marcus asked, his nerves already on edge. The woman smiled, sadly. "My name is Dr. Helena Voss. I'm the one who called you last night, though I used a voice modifier to disguise my identity. I apologize for the deception, but I needed to be certain you would come alone." Marcus stared at her in confusion. "You're not who I expected." "I imagine not. Most people expect supernatural mysteries to involve dark, mysterious men in long coats. Sometimes the truth is more mundane, at least on the surface. Dr. Voss gestured toward a nearby bench. Please, sit with me. We have much to discuss, and very little time. Against his better judgment, Marcus sat beside her, still clutching the wedding photo. Where is my wife? What do you know about her disappearance? Dr. Voss sighed deeply, suddenly looking every one of her 70-plus years. Your wife is safe, for now. But she is not in this world anymore, Mr. Rivera. She has been taken to a place between dimensions, a realm that exists parallel to our own. That's impossible, Marcus said flatly. You're talking about science fiction. I'm talking about science that most people don't understand, Dr. Voss corrected gently. I was a professor of theoretical physics at Stanford for 30 years before I retired to study what most academics would call fringe theories. Parallel dimensions, interdimensional beings, the thin places where our world touches others. She reached into her purse and pulled out a worn leather journal filled with notes, sketches, and photographs. Show me the picture from your wedding. Marcus hesitated, then handed over the printed photo. Dr. Voss examined it carefully, nodding, as if confirming something she already knew. His name is Gabriel Stone, though that's not his original name. He's been using human identities for over 2 centuries. She pointed to the pale, translucent figure in the photograph. He's what we call a dimensional walker, a being from the realm between worlds who can exist in both realities simultaneously. This is insane, Marcus muttered, but even as he said it, he found himself believing her. The evidence was right there, in the photo. Impossible to explain by conventional means. Gabriel has been watching your wife's family for generations, Dr. Voss continued. The Chen Martinez bloodline carries a rare genetic marker that makes certain women capable of existing in multiple dimensions. Every few generations, one woman is born with the ability to cross between worlds without losing her physical form, Marcus felt his world tilting on its axis. You're saying Olivia is some kind of mutant? I'm saying she's extraordinarily special, and Gabriel has been waiting a very long time to find her. The family secret Dr. Voss opened her journal to a page filled with genealogical charts and family trees. Your wife's grandmother, Rosa Martinez, contacted me 3 years ago when she realized Olivia was manifesting the abilities. She had been trying to protect Olivia her entire life, using traditional Mexican protective rituals and blessed objects to mask her dimensional signature. Rosa knew about this? Marcus thought back to the elderly woman's behavior at the wedding, her intense conversations with Olivia, the way she had watched everyone so carefully. Rosa's own mother was taken by Gabriel in 1943. She was only 19 years old, about to be married to Rosa's father. Rosa has spent her entire life researching ways to break the pattern, to protect the women in her family. Dr. Voss turned to another page showing newspaper clippings from different decades. Look at these disappearances. Maria Santos in 1943, Isabella Rodriguez in 1967, Carmen Chen in 1989. All women from the same bloodline, all taken on or around their wedding days. Marcus studied the clippings with growing horror. The photographs showed women who bore a striking resemblance to Olivia, and in each case, the disappearances had been mysterious and unexplained. Why wedding days? Marcus asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. Because that's when their dimensional abilities are strongest. The emotional intensity, the spiritual commitment, the joining of 2 lives creates a kind of energy that temporarily opens the barriers between worlds. Gabriel can only claim them when they're at their most powerful. So he's been stalking my wife's family for generations? Not stalking, cultivating. Gabriel believes that by taking these women to his realm, he's preserving something beautiful and rare. He sees himself as a collector of precious things. Marcus stood up abruptly, pacing back and forth in front of the jellyfish tanks. This is all fascinating, Dr. Voss, but what I really need to know is how to get my wife back. Dr. Voss closed her journal and looked at him with a mixture of sympathy and determination. That's why I asked you to meet me here. The aquarium sits on what Native American shamans called a thin place, where the boundary between dimensions is naturally weak. I've been monitoring dimensional activity here for years. She stood and walked toward the deeper part of the aquarium, motioning for Marcus to follow. They passed through several exhibits until they reached a restricted area marked with staff-only signs. I have special access here, Dr. Voss explained, using a key card to unlock a door. The aquarium directors think I'm conducting research on bioluminescence in deep-sea creatures. They have no idea what I'm really studying. They entered a small research room filled with electronic equipment Marcus didn't recognize. Screens showed various readings and wave patterns, and in the center of the room sat what looked like a cross between a telescope and a sophisticated camera. This is a dimensional scanner, Dr. Voss explained. It can detect rifts between worlds and, under the right circumstances, can even open temporary passages. Marcus felt a surge of hope. You can open a portal to where Gabriel took Olivia? Theoretically, yes. But it's extremely dangerous. The realm between dimensions is not meant for human beings. Most people who cross over lose their sanity within hours, if they survive at all. I don't care about the danger, Marcus said firmly. I'll do whatever it takes to bring her home. Dr. Voss studied his face for a long moment. I believe you would. But there's something else you need to understand. Gabriel didn't just take Olivia randomly. He's been planning this for months, possibly years. The fact that he appeared at your wedding suggests he was waiting for the perfect moment. She pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. There's more to this story, Mr. Rivera. Something I learned from Rosa that changes everything. The shocking truth. Your wife's father, Thomas Chen, made a deal with Gabriel 28 years ago. Marcus felt as if he'd been hit by a truck. What kind of deal? Thomas was young, desperate, and deeply in love with Olivia's mother, Carmen. When Gabriel came for Carmen, Thomas begged him to take him instead. Gabriel was amused by the request, but proposed a different arrangement. Dr. Voss pulled out another document, this one bearing official-looking seals and signatures. Gabriel agreed to spare Carmen's life and allow her to marry Thomas and have children. In exchange, Thomas promised that when their daughter came, of age and married, she would be given to Gabriel willingly. That's impossible, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Too many impossible things had already proven to be true. Thomas thought he was buying time, that he could find a way to break the contract before it came due. He never told Carmen about the deal, and when she died in that car accident 5 years ago, she never knew what her husband had agreed to. Marcus sank into a chair, overwhelmed by the implications. So Olivia was essentially sold to this Gabriel before she was even born? In supernatural terms, yes. But here's what Thomas didn't understand about the contract. Gabriel agreed to take Olivia willingly, but he never specified that she had to go willingly. The contract can be fulfilled if her family willingly gives her up. But Thomas is dead, Marcus pointed out. He died of a heart attack 2 years ago. Dr. Voss nodded sadly. Which means the contract passes to the next closest family member. In this case, that would be Rosa Martinez, Olivia's grandmother. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Rosa would never agree to that. She's been trying to protect Olivia her whole life. I thought so too, until I spoke with her yesterday evening. Dr. Voss pulled out her phone and played a recorded voicemail. Rosa's voice, speaking in heavily accented English, filled the small room. Dr. Voss, I cannot fight this anymore. Gabriel came to me in dreams every night since the wedding. He shows me terrible things that will happen to my family if I do not honor the contract. My other grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, all of them will suffer. I must choose between Olivia and the rest of my family. I have made my choice. May God forgive me. Marcus stared at the phone in horror. She's going to hand Olivia over to him? She already has. The ceremony took place at midnight last night, during the witching hour when dimensional barriers are weakest. Rosa performed the ritual that officially transfers Olivia's ownership to Gabriel. Ownership? Marcus's voice rose. We're talking about a human being, not property. In Gabriel's realm, the distinction is meaningless. Olivia now belongs to him in every sense of the word. She cannot leave his dimension without his permission, and he will never give it. Marcus stood up, his hands clenched into fists. Then I'll go get her myself. You said you could open a portal. I said I could open a temporary passage, but even if you could reach Gabriel's realm alive, even if you could find Olivia in a dimension that spans infinite realities, you would have no way to bring her back. Gabriel's claim on her is now absolute. There has to be a way, Marcus insisted. In all your research, all your study of these supernatural contracts, there must be some loophole, some way to break them. Dr. Voss was quiet for a long moment, staring at the dimensional scanner. Finally, she spoke. There is one possibility, but it's so dangerous, so unlikely to succeed that I hesitate to even mention it. Tell me. The contracts between dimensional beings and humans can be nullified under certain circumstances. If someone willingly takes the place of the contracted person, if they offer their life in exchange, the original contract becomes void. Marcus didn't hesitate. Then that's what I'll do. You don't understand, Dr. Voss said urgently. It's not just about dying for her. You would have to offer Gabriel something he values more than Olivia, something that would make him willing to release her and take you instead. What could I possibly offer that would be more valuable to him than my wife? Dr. Voss looked at him with a mixture of admiration and pity. Your love for her. Gabriel is an ancient being who has never experienced true human emotion. He's fascinated by love, by the bonds between people that transcend physical existence. If you could convince him that your love for Olivia is genuine, pure, and eternal, he might be willing to trade her for the opportunity to possess that love himself. Marcus felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. You're saying I would have to give up my ability to love her in order to save her? I'm saying you would have to give up everything that makes you human, your emotions, your memories of her, your very soul. You would become like Gabriel, an empty vessel existing between worlds, while Olivia would be free to return to her normal life. The room fell silent, except for the humming of the electronic equipment. Marcus stared at the dimensional scanner, contemplating a choice that would either save the woman he loved or destroy everything that made their love meaningful. There's one more thing, Dr. Voss said quietly. If you go through with this exchange, Olivia will have no memory of you. The contract ensures that she returns to her life exactly as it was before Gabriel entered it. She'll remember her family, her work, her friends, but every trace of your relationship will be erased from her mind as if you never existed. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of an impossible decision. Save Olivia and lose her forever, or leave her trapped in another. How long do I have to decide? He asked. Gabriel is performing the binding ceremony tomorrow night at midnight. Once that's complete, Olivia will be permanently integrated into his realm. She'll still exist, but she'll become like him, neither. Fully human nor fully supernatural. If you're going to act, it has to be tomorrow. As Marcus looked at the wedding photo one more time, seeing his radiant bride in her beautiful white gown, he knew there was really no choice at all. Whatever the cost to himself, he would find a way to bring Olivia home, even if it meant sacrificing everything he held dear. The next evening, Marcus stood in the aquarium's research room as Dr. Voss made final adjustments to the dimensional scanner. The machine hummed with an otherworldly energy that made his skin crawl, and the air around. It seemed to shimmer like heat waves rising from summer pavement. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" Dr. Voss asked for the 10th time. "Once you cross over, there's no guarantee I'll be able to bring you back. The portal can only remain open for a few minutes before it destabilizes." Marcus nodded, checking the small backpack he had prepared. Inside were bottles of water, energy bars, a flashlight, and most importantly, the original wedding photo and a letter he had written to Olivia explaining everything. "I understand the risks." Dr. Voss had spent the entire day coaching him on what to expect in Gabriel's realm. The dimension between worlds was a place where thoughts became reality, where emotions took physical form, and where time moved differently than it did on Earth. She had given him protective charms borrowed from Rosa Martinez's collection, Blessed, objects that might help him maintain his human identity in a place designed to strip away humanity. "Remember," Dr. Voss said as she powered up the scanner, "Gabriel feeds on strong emotions. Don't let him see your fear or desperation. He'll use those feelings against you. Stay focused on your love for Olivia, but don't let him sense how much losing her would destroy you." The scanner began to glow with an eerie blue light that reminded Marcus uncomfortably of Gabriel's eyes in the wedding photo. The air in the center of the room started to ripple and bend, creating a circular opening that looked like a window into another world. Through the portal, Marcus could see a landscape that defied description. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, with crystalline structures that seemed to grow out of the ground like living things, and a sky that shifted between colors that had no names in human language. "There," Dr. Voss said, pointing to a distant structure visible through the portal. "That castle-like building in the center. That's where Gabriel keeps his collection. If Olivia is anywhere, she'll be there." Marcus stepped toward the portal, feeling the strange energy washing over him like static electricity. "Dr. Voss, if I don't make it back, please tell my family that I died trying to save the woman I love." "You'll make it back," she said firmly, though her eyes betrayed her uncertainty. "Both of you will." Marcus took a deep breath and stepped through the portal into Gabriel's realm. The realm between worlds. The first thing that struck Marcus was the silence. Not just the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. A stillness that seemed to permeate every atom of existence. The air itself felt different, thicker somehow, charged with potential energy that made his hair stand on end. The landscape stretched out before him like something from a fever dream. The crystalline structures Dr. Voss had mentioned were everywhere, some as small as flowers, others towering hundreds of feet into the strange, color-shifting sky. They chimed softly when the wind touched them, creating an alien melody that was both beautiful and deeply unsettling. Marcus began walking toward the castle-like structure in the distance, his footsteps making no sound on the ground that seemed to be made of compressed starlight. As he moved through this impossible realm, he began to notice other things that defied earthly logic. Trees that grew downward into the sky, their roots reaching toward the shifting colors above. Streams of liquid light that flowed uphill, carrying what looked like memories or dreams in their glowing currents. The protective charms Rosa had given him grew warm against his skin, and Marcus found himself grateful for their presence. He could feel the realm trying to change him, to make him forget his human nature and become something else. The charms served as anchors, reminding him who he was and why he was here. As he drew closer to Gabriel's castle, Marcus began to see other figures moving through the landscape. They appeared to be human at first glance, but something was wrong with all of them. They moved too smoothly, their expressions were too perfect, and their eyes held the same pale blue glow as Gabriel's. These were the other women Gabriel had collected over the centuries, Marcus realized with growing horror. They had been transformed into something between human and whatever Gabriel was, trapped in this realm and shaped to suit his desires. The castle itself was a marvel of impossible architecture. It seemed to be built from the same crystalline material as the smaller structures, but it twisted and folded in ways that hurt Marcus's eyes to look at directly. Spires spiraled into dimensions he couldn't perceive, and doorways opened onto rooms that existed in multiple places simultaneously. As Marcus approached the main entrance, two of the transformed women glided toward him. Up close, he could see that they had once been beautiful in human terms, but their beauty had been perfected to an inhuman degree. Their skin was flawless and luminous. Their hair moved as if underwater, and their voices harmonized in ways that human vocal cords couldn't achieve. "You should not be here, mortal," they said in unison, their words carrying the weight of centuries. "This realm is not for your kind." "I'm here for my wife," Marcus said, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. "Olivia Chen Martinez. Where is she?" The women exchanged glances that somehow conveyed entire conversations. "The new one," they said finally. "She has not yet been transformed. The master keeps her in the heart chamber, where the binding ceremony will take place." "Take me to her." "We cannot. Only the master can grant passage to the heart chamber." As if summoned by their words, Gabriel materialized out of the crystalline walls of the castle. In his own realm, he was even more imposing than he had appeared in the wedding photo. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, his pale skin seeming to glow with its own inner light. His long, dark hair moved in a breeze that touched nothing else, and his silver blue eyes held the depth of eternity. "Marcus Rivera," Gabriel said, his voice resonating with harmonics that made Marcus's bones vibrate. "I wondered when you would come. Love makes humans so predictably foolish." "Let my wife go," Marcus said, fighting to keep the fear out of his voice. "She doesn't belong here." Gabriel laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. "Belong? She belongs to me more than she ever belonged to you. Her bloodline has been mine for generations, shaped and cultivated for this moment. You are nothing but a brief interruption in a story that began long before you were born." "She chose me," Marcus said. "She married me because she loves me." "She married you because I allowed it," Gabriel corrected. "Every moment of happiness you shared with her was A gift from me. I could have taken her at any time, but I wanted her to experience human love first, to understand what she was giving up. It makes the transformation so much more poignant. Gabriel gestured, and the air in front of them shimmered to reveal Olivia standing in what appeared to be a room made entirely of mirrors. She was still wearing the clothes she had disappeared in, but her expression was blank, her eyes unfocused. She stood perfectly still, as if waiting for instructions. "What have you done to her?" Marcus demanded. "Nothing permanent. Yet. She is in a state of suspended consciousness while I prepare for the binding ceremony. In a few hours she will awaken as my newest bride, perfected and eternal." Marcus felt rage building in his chest, but Dr. Voss's warnings echoed in his mind. Gabriel fed on strong emotions. He forced himself to remain calm. "I want to make a deal with you." Gabriel raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "A deal? What could you possibly offer me that I don't already possess?" "My love for her. You've collected beautiful women for centuries, but you've never experienced the kind of love I have for Olivia." True. Marcus took a deep breath, knowing that his next words would determine both his and Olivia's fate. "You want to understand human love, to possess it and make it your own. I'm offering you the chance to experience it directly. Take my place in the binding ceremony. Let me give you everything I feel for Olivia. All the love, all the devotion, all the joy and pain and hope that comes with truly loving someone." Gabriel circled him slowly, his silver-blue eyes studying Marcus with new intensity. "And in exchange? You let Olivia go back to her world, her life, her family. You release her from any claim you have on her bloodline. No more Chen Martinez women will be taken by you or any other dimensional being." "Interesting," Gabriel mused. "But why would I want your love when I can have the woman who inspired it?" "Because love isn't just about possession," Marcus said, finding strength in the truth of his words. "It's about sacrifice, about putting someone else's happiness before your own. You can collect all the beautiful women in the multiverse, but you'll never understand what makes them truly beautiful until you experience the love that sees beyond physical perfection." Gabriel stopped circling and stood directly in front of Marcus. "You would give up everything for her? Your memories, your humanity, your very soul?" "Yes. Even knowing that she will never remember you existed. That your sacrifice will be meaningless. To her? Because she'll have no knowledge of what you gave up?" Marcus felt tears gathering in his eyes, but he didn't try to hide them. Especially knowing that real love isn't about being remembered or thanked. It's about doing what's right for the person you love, even when there's no reward for doing it. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment, and Marcus could see something shifting in those ancient eyes. For the first time in centuries, Gabriel was experiencing something he had never felt before. Wonder. Longing. The desire to understand something that had always been beyond his reach. "Your terms are acceptable," Gabriel said finally. "But I have one condition of my own." "Name it." "The ceremony must be completed exactly as I would have performed it with your wife. You will take her place in every aspect of the ritual. When it is finished, you will become what she would have become, neither human nor dimensional being, but something in between. Forever bound to this realm, forever mine." Marcus thought of Olivia's face, her laugh, the way she looked at him with such complete trust and love. He thought of the life they had, planned together, the children they might have had, the years of happiness that were being stolen from them by forces beyond their control. "I accept." Gabriel smiled, and for the first time there was genuine warmth in his expression. "Then let us begin." The binding ceremony took place in the heart chamber, a room at the very center of Gabriel's castle where the walls were made of pure emotion given form. Marcus stood where Olivia would have stood, surrounded by the transformed women who had been Gabriel's brides throughout the centuries. They watched with expressions that might have been sympathy, though it was hard to tell with their perfected features. As Gabriel began the ritual, speaking words in a language that predated human civilization, Marcus felt his connection to the human world beginning to fade. His memories of Earth, of his life before Olivia, started to blur and dissolve. But his love for her remained clear and strong, growing brighter even as everything else dimmed. "The bond is forming," Gabriel announced, his voice filled with something that might have been excitement. "I can feel it. Your love, your devotion, your willingness to sacrifice everything for her sake. It's unlike anything I have ever experienced." Marcus nodded, no longer able to speak as the transformation took hold of him. He felt his human nature slipping away, replaced by something vast and timeless. But instead of feeling loss, he felt peace. Olivia would be safe. She would return to her world, find someone else to love, live the life she deserved. That was worth any price. "It is done," Gabriel said as the ritual reached its climax. "You are mine now, as she would have been. But there is something I must tell you, something you should know before you lose the last of your human understanding." Marcus looked at him questioningly, though he could feel his ability to form thoughts slipping away. "Your love," Gabriel said, softly, "has changed me. In accepting it, in experiencing it for myself, I have remembered what I gave up when I became what I am. I too was human once, long ago, and I too loved someone who was taken from me. Your sacrifice has reminded me of who I used to be." Gabriel raised his hand, and Marcus felt a shock of energy pass through him. Suddenly, his memories began to return, his human nature reasserting itself. "I release you," Gabriel said. "Both of you. The contract is broken. The curse is lifted. Take your wife and return to your world with my blessing and my gratitude." The return. Home Marcus found himself back in the research room at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, with Olivia in his arms and Dr. Voss staring at them in amazement. The portal had closed, and the dimensional scanner was powering down. But they were both there, both alive, both human. "Olivia," Marcus said, holding her tightly, "are you okay?" She looked up at him with confusion in her beautiful brown eyes. "Marcus, what happened? I remember going to bed in our suite and then nothing. Where are we?" "It's a long story," Marcus said, kissing her forehead. "But you're safe now. We're both safe." Dr. Voss approached them carefully. "Mr. Rivera, what happened in there? How did you convince Gabriel to release her?" Marcus looked at the elderly scientist, then at his wife, who was clearly bewildered by everything that was happening. "He remembered what it was like to be human," Marcus said simply. "And he realized that some things are more important than possession." Over the following days, Marcus and Olivia returned to their normal lives, though nothing would ever be quite the same. Marcus told Olivia everything that had happened, and while she found it difficult to believe at first, the evidence was undeniable. The wedding photo still showed Gabriel's figure in the background, but now he appeared to be fading, becoming more transparent with each passing day. Dr. Voss continued her research, but reported that dimensional activity in the area had dropped to almost zero. Gabriel had apparently kept his word about releasing the Chen Martinez bloodline from his claim. Rosa Martinez visited them a month later, tears streaming down her face as she apologized for her role in Olivia's kidnapping. "I thought I had no choice," she said. "He showed me such terrible things that would happen to the family." "You did what you thought was right," Olivia assured her grandmother, "and everything worked out in the end. But it was Marcus who surprised everyone with his response." "Actually," he said, "I think Gabriel was counting on you making that choice. I think he knew all along that someone would come for Olivia, someone who loved her enough to make the ultimate sacrifice. He was lonely, Dr. Voss. He'd been alone for centuries, collecting beautiful things but never understanding what made them truly beautiful. Our love showed him what he'd been missing." 6 months later, Marcus and Olivia renewed their wedding vows in a small ceremony attended only by their closest family and friends. This time, there were no uninvited guests in the wedding photos, no mysterious figures lurking in the background, just two people who had been through something impossible together and emerged stronger for it. As they danced their first dance as a truly married couple, Olivia whispered in Marcus's ear, "I still can't believe you went to another dimension to save me." Marcus smiled, holding her close. "I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's what love is, isn't it? Being willing to go anywhere, face anything, sacrifice everything for the person who matters most. Even if they'll never remember what you did for them?" "Especially then," Marcus said, remembering Gabriel's final condition that had ultimately been lifted. "Because the best kind of